Francis woke up. It was barely light outside. He quickly drank his coffee and grabbed his fishing equipment. Today was his day off, and he could fish to his heart's content. He walked out, his wife still asleep, and started up his car. The low hum of the engine and the morning birds were the sweetest sound as he drove to the lake just a little way from his home. As he pulled up, he smelled a strange chemical smell, but thought nothing of it, probably just a small fire set by someone. He set up his small canoe and set off into the clear blue water. The sun had now risen and peeked over the horizon, flooding the lake with light. The cool air fogged with his breath, and as he got closer to his favorite spot, he began to notice that he wasn't getting any bites, and the reason soon made itself clear. In the corner of the lake lay a dark, dirty pipe. Sludge spewed from it, the surrounding waters a dark, dirty green. Francis welled with anger. "What in the world?" he shouted. Going back up to the shore, he pulled his canoe out of the water and walked over to the pipe. It had been set up so that he couldn't move it, and the logo was etched into the plastic, the Ethic Corp. The name angered Francis even more. They dared to call themselves ethical when they were dumping into clean water. He kicked the pipe. A crunch came from it, but it stayed in place. He walked away, knowing that if he removed it, it would only be replaced almost immediately. He needed to find the root of the problem. He went home, his one free day ruined, and anger continued to rise with him as he drove home. He opened the door to his surprised wife. She was cooking breakfast for herself, but noticing he had come home, she gave it to him instead, making herself another breakfast. "Good morning, honey. Here's some breakfast. You look angry," she prodded. Francis sighed. "They've ruined Treasure Lake," he grumbled, playing with his food. His wife sat down beside him, comforting him. "Tell me what happened." Francis explained everything, and Mary was shocked. "Go to the mayor in an hour or so and get this fixed. I know how important this lake is to you," she suggested. Francis smiled, eating his food. A burning flame ignited in him. He was going to fix this, he thought to himself. After he had finished his food and had watched the morning news, he set out to the mayor's office. Since they lived in a small town, it was empty except for a few staff. No one else was there. Francis was well acquainted with the mayor, as they were childhood friends. "Hey, Michael, how's it going?" Francis asked, walking into his office. Michael sat, doing some paperwork, but he pushed it aside with a warm smile. He welcomed Francis. "Hey, long time no see, brother," Michael laughed, shaking his hand. "I want to talk about something serious," Francis said with a somber tone. He faced Michael. "The lake we used to play on and fish has been ruined by," Francis stammered, stopping his voice from turning into a shout, "by some disgusting company dumping their trash anywhere they please," he finished, letting the info soak in. "I know very well what you're talking about," Michael replied. "You do?" Francis said, shocked. "Of course I do. There's laws for a reason." "Francis, this company paid good money to acquire a perfectly legal permit to do what they're doing," Michael explained. But Francis wasn't listening. After sitting through a lengthy explanation that basically beat around the bush and didn't address the actual problem, Francis stood up. "Michael, as a friend, frankly, I'm disappointed in you. But I understand you can't do much about it," Francis spat coldly, leaving the office in a huff. Michael tried calling him, but to no avail. Francis had his mind elsewhere. He eventually reached home and immediately began the research. He sat on his laptop until midnight, and even then, he wanted to continue searching, but his wife didn't let him and made him rest, worried for his health. The next day, Francis woke up early. He finished research and had everything written down. He set out to put his plan in motion. He walked into the mayor's office, sat down, a smile on his face. "I want to buy the lake," Francis yelped. The mayor looked visibly shocked, taking a second to sit back. "You can't just buy a lake, Francis. Be serious," Michael stammered, frustrated. "But I can. It's perfectly legal, as long as I say that it is," Francis said whimsically. Michael sighed, began looking through his PC. He pulled up some files and looked at Francis. $100 grand is the price. "You can buy it if you have the funds," Michael said coldly. "That's fine. I'll be back in 2 days with the cash," Francis replied. "Wait, Francis. We both know you don't have that much. Don't make any mistakes you'll regret, my friend, Michael tried, but Francis ignored his plea. Francis took a step to the next place in his plan, the news station. He pulled up and went inside. After talking with them for a while, he finally got them to agree to his plan, and he was off. They finished up, and slowly Francis' plan was working. He had been working hard all day, and his entire body was sore, but he was hopeful that this work would pay off in the end. As the news spread and the money came in, it was looking good, and in the next few days, Francis had all he needed, 100,000 in donations and counting. His plan had succeeded. He went to the mayor's office with a briefcase full of cash. He slammed it on the desk with a grin. "There's your money. Give me the deed to the lake," Francis said coldly. "Well, you see, the land has already been bought," Michael responded. "How?" Francis shouted angrily. "Your elaborate plan, where you broadcast to the entire world that the lake had been ruined, you even got the local news involved and the national news. You really expected that a corporation that big wouldn't take notice and realize that you're trying to get them out?" Michael explained with a glaring stare. "Okay, so if I pay more, can I get it?" Francis pleaded. His plan was falling through right in front of him, tears welling up, but he pushed them back. "This can't be the end," he thought to himself. "Well, maybe if you go to them, but I can't resell it once it's already been sold," Michael added. "All right, I understand," Francis said, leaving the office emotionless. Why, he repeated over and over again in his head. His knuckles turned white from rage. "Hey, honey," a voice came. His wife held his shoulder, wrapping his arm around him and holding his hand. "What's up?" she asked. "The company bought it before us, and all this money will go to nothing," he replied. "No, we can still try something. Let's go back to the news," she said, pulling Francis, who was too tired and upset to argue back. "All right, let's try," he said, forcing a half smile and going to the news. After some more talk and a few broadcasts, as well as help from word of mouth, the entire town knew what was going on. After using some of the money on flyers, banners, and other things, they immediately began rioting in front of the company, not allowing anyone to come in or go out. The corporation tried to call the police, but they were on Francis's side. "Since they're not doing anything illegal, other than a peaceful parade on public land, there's nothing we can do, really. Good luck to you all," the police said, leaving the scene. "What in the world?" one employee said, shocked. The entire building was rendered useless, and the company didn't know what to do with the news of what was going on and going viral on multiple news sites and social media. The corporation had to back down, and in the following days took the fall and retracted their waste dumping, as well as donating to various charities to help clean the water that's been polluted. Everybody was happy with the outcome, and as everything concluded, Francis went to visit the lake. The greenery was coming back, and he saw teams cleaning it, removing all the putrid waste, and he smiled. He was happy. Finally, he had saved his lake. It took a while, and his efforts had been rewarded. He was finally able to fish again safely. "You know your boss fired you, right?" your wife said sarcastically. Shock and embarrassment flushed on Francis's face. He had completely forgotten to go to work.